Last week, my family and I took a vacation to the other side of the state. We had a really good time, visited an amusement park, did some shopping, including flea markets, which I want to show you some of the pickups I got there, and enjoyed a lot of great food, probably a little too much. We had a lot of really good food, let's just say that. And I want to focus on some of the games that I picked up from this trip. It was really cool to be able to get outside of my area and find some things that I've never seen before or are kind of difficult to pick up in my area. And maybe they're available, I just haven't been to the right store, but these were things that I wanted to put into my collection. They've been on my wish list, and I found them while I was out on vacation. I thought that was kind of cool. I had no intentions of doing any game hunting while on vacation, but when we drove past a store, I've never seen it before. It was called Just Press Play out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We had to stop. And then we also went to a rather large flea market, as I noted, out in that area as well, that's only open on Fridays. And they had some cool game pickups there. So without further ado, let's go over some of the cool things. The first game is for the Sega Genesis. It's Vector Man 2. I'll admit, I've never played Vector Man 2. But my brother had the original Vector Man on the Sega Genesis, and I played so much of that game. It was one of my favorite games for the Sega Genesis, actually. By the time that I was done playing on the Sega, Vector Man was right up there for me. So when I saw Vector Man 2 at the flea market, I just had to pick this thing up. And when I'm collecting Sega Genesis, I only want things that are in their box with the manual and the game. I do know that this game has the sun fading pretty badly on this side, but this side's pretty good. So given that it's both the same view on each side, I'm just going to put this side out on the shelf. But inside it does have the manual, it does have the game cartridge. And something I dislike about what Sega did later in their runs was they made all their games in cardboard boxes instead of the hard-shelled plastic cases. But, it is what it is, and I'm very excited to have Vector Man 2 and can't wait to play this one. Next, we have a PlayStation 2 game that has eluded me for quite a while. And that's not to say I haven't seen this sometimes. I've been to a GameStop and where they had Dirge of Cerberus, but it was super scratched up. Or I was at some other kind of a flea market or a yard sale and they had Dirge of Cerberus, and it just didn't have the manual. But this copy of Dirge of Cerberus, the Final Fantasy VII game, is pretty nice. It's clean on all sides, very shiny, and inside the manual, super clean manual. And the disc is very clean, very nice. Looks like it was resurfaced. Very nice. I've never played Dirge of Cerberus. I've looked up a few videos. I see people frustrated with it or disliking the game. But being that I have the majority of the Final Fantasy games at this point, except for Type 0, which I could not stand Type 0. I had to get rid of that one out of the collection. So I'm not the type of person who's just going to keep everything just to have a copy of every Final Fantasy game. But I am going to be giving Dirge of Cerberus a try, and hopefully I enjoy it enough to want to play it. Whether I beat it or not, I don't know. But looking forward to adding this one in the collection and giving it a try. While at the flea market, I also took a look at the Xbox One games that were inside this little store. And I say store because at this flea market they had shipping containers or small homes or little barns or sheds that they converted into stores. This one happened to be into a large pavilion that was converted into a store. But I found Forza Horizon 3. And I'm collecting all the first-party titles for Xbox, all the Xbox One exclusives. And I did not have Forza Horizon 3. Now, the first Forza Horizon I played was Horizon 5, and fell in love with that game in the setting. I think I've said it before on a separate video. Really awesome game. Such a fun arcade racing game. So if these other Horizon games are anything like it, I think we're in for a really good time. And just like the Forza Horizon game, we have Forza Motorsport 5. I've also said in a previous video, I've never played a Forza Motorsport game. I know these are the more serious games. They're a lot more like Gran Turismo, which I have played on the PlayStation. So we're going to give this a go. I don't expect to love the game, but I am trying to get all the first-party titles on the Xbox One, and this just was one that I picked up for a couple of dollars at the store that he had. So not really too worried about the cost of it, but happy to further the collection. On to the PlayStation 3, where I have a couple of, well, they're not heavy hitters, but they're mediums, if you will. I'm not sure what people call these ones that they're not your $10 games, but they're not your $100 games either. This is somewhere in the middle, around the $40 to $50 range. So this is the Simpsons game, and I hear a lot of really good reviews of this game. It's humorous, it's fun to play. The only bad thing about this game is it does not have the manual. And I thought I might be able to find the manual. I like that disc, that's cool. I thought I might be able to find the manual online somewhere, and I am struggling to find this somewhere. And I do expect, if I do find it, that it's not going to be a $10 pickup. It's probably going to be like a $20 manual. So luckily I did purchase this for well under what price charting is. It went for a little bit under the loose copy for what this game is. So there is some wiggle room for me to go out and purchase a manual without spending a whole lot and over purchasing on the game. But again, the Simpsons game for the PS3, very excited for this. Next up is a game that I've only played the demo of when I had my PS3. So back when I owned a PlayStation, I've mentioned in other videos, a PlayStation 3, I was fresh out of college. I did not have a lot of money, and my brother-in-law had picked up the PlayStation 3 from Circuit City when it was going out of business and sold it to me for at cost what he was able to get it for. And because I didn't have a lot of money, I was relying heavily on PS Plus, which had just recently come out, as well as any demos that came out. And Azura's Wrath was one of the demos that came out, and I remember playing it and thinking, this game is absolutely crazy. I can't remember if I loved it or hated it or just thought, this is crazy. I'd love to get the game, but I can't afford it right now. But it stood out in my mind as something I wanted to revisit down the road when I start collecting PlayStation games. So the thing about Azura's Wrath here, I went and looked at some other videos. Some people have a copy like mine where it has a manual that looks kind of like this. But other people have a copy where the manual is actually an image that looks more like the cover. I'm assuming one was an early run, one was a later run at the game. I don't know. But if you have any ideas or information about the manual and why it's different or what causes it to be different, I'd love to hear about it. And do you think that I should go and look for the other manual that has better artwork on it to add to this game or not? I've decided that I'm going to split this video up into the console-based and the handheld-based side of things. Part 2 of this video is going to contain Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS games. Kind of went a little crazy on some of those. But when the price is right when you find them, I mean, does it hurt to pick them up if you have the money for it? Probably not. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. I know I was really shocked to find Vector Man in there, and Azura's Wrath really surprised me as well. So I'm very much looking forward to playing these and adding them into the collection, as I've said. And hope to see you in part 2 of this.